facing the police every single day.
In Hong Kong, an 8th weekend of violent protests has spiraled out of control. Demonstrators are outraged over an attack by gang members last week. Ramy Inocencio reports tonight from Hong Kong.
Rage and chaos in Hong Kong hit its highest peak yet. Police Saturday night stormed the subway station in the Yuen Long neighborhood, hitting people with batons and arresting protesters who refused to leave. It was the worst violence the city has seen since June and came after thousands of protesters again squared off against police for hours. Protesters blocked roads and threw bricks, bottles, and umbrellas. Police fired back with round after round of tear gas and rubber bullets. But this time, protesters wouldn't budge. They were better prepared and ready to fight.
Right now, the protesters are trying to push back the riot police, and it looks like they're succeeding. Just in the past minute or so, the riot police were throwing the first rounds of tear gas. We ourselves were sprayed, but now it's only angered the crowd even more.
They're angry after a mob of men last weekend brutally attacked protesters and innocent bystanders in this town's subway. The men are believed to be members of organized crime gangs, and it took police roughly 40 minutes to respond.
We want to demonstrate what justice is.
Furious protesters today tried to take the fight back to the neighborhoods where the gangs are from, but were repelled repeatedly by police.
This is the worst chaos we've seen on Hong Kong streets. It's gotten worse every single week. The fear is that if this continues to escalate, the People's Liberation Army will step in. Ramy Inocencio, CBS News, Hong Kong.
Breaking news this hour, thousands of protesters are packing the streets of Hong Kong for an 8th straight weekend. They're calling for democratic reforms, and they're speaking out against violent attacks on demonstrators that have left dozens of people hurt. NBC's Matt Bradley is live on the phone from Hong Kong with the latest. Matt, good morning to you. There are reports of a stalemate here. Where are the protesters versus the government right now?
Well, Jolene, I'm actually not in central Hong Kong. I'm about 45 minutes northwest of Hong Kong in a city called Yuen Long, which is where a week ago there was this confrontation between thugs who were armed with sticks who beat up some protesters. And so that was what has really sparked off what we're seeing today. This is so different from the marches that I've been seeing over the past couple of weeks here in Hong Kong, in the sense that it's not really a march at all. It's a kind of a static confrontation, a violent confrontation between protesters and police. And that's because the protesters are so furious with the police when they saw this act of thuggery. And a lot of them suspect or believe very strongly that the police enlisted the help of ordinary citizens, some of them believed to be part of the Chinese mafia called Triad, who are in some of the villages around this area. So when we were here earlier, a couple of hours ago, we saw some of these protesters hurling insults and obscenities at the police who were trying to protect some of the villages that are on the outskirts of this city, because these protesters believe that a lot of these thugs that we saw in these images from last week came out of these villages. But really, the confrontation here is about that extradition bill. This bill would see people from Hong Kong who were arrested, possibly sent to mainland China, tried and imprisoned there. That has all but been taken off the table. It's been almost entirely withdrawn. But the protesters now want the chief executive of Hong Kong, who's very close to Beijing, to resign. They want an independent investigation into police brutality, and they really want this whole thing formally pulled off the table. And that really was the central demand of the protest for the last several weeks. But now, this protest is really about anger directed at the police. This is just a very emotional venting of rage by the protesters against the police officers. Zhou.
Matt, one quick follow-up question to you. Who is protesting? Is it mostly young people? Tell us about who's out on the streets.
Yeah. Well, before, you saw people from all walks of life. It was millions of people. In fact, some of the initial protests weeks ago, it was something like 1 in 7 Hong Kongers were represented on the streets. Now, here in Yuen Long, I'm seeing almost all young people. They're university students or younger, and that's why it really has gotten so passionate and so violent. Some of them, they're taking down some of the street barriers and tying them together and using them to charge at the police officers, and the police officers are responding with tear gas.
Okay.
Zhou.
Matt Bradley, thank you so much for reporting on the ground.
Linda, let me talk to you. Linda. First, where police are clashing with protesters at an unauthorized rally. Tens of thousands have defied a police ban to demonstrate after last weekend's violence that left dozens of people injured. Let's bring in CNN's Christy Lou Stout and Anna Corrin. Both are in Hong Kong and have been for many hours now. I want to go first to Anna. You've been amongst it now hour after hour. You've seen...
Linda, let me talk to you. Linda, let me tell you what is happening. We have just been charged by riot police up the escalators into the train station. This is absolute mayhem. They have just come at the protesters wielding batons, spraying pepper spray. It is pandemonium inside here. I have no idea how they are planning to disperse this crowd. It is absolute chaos. We were just chased outside, while Devin and I come into. But there were absolutely chaotic scenes. I have never witnessed anything quite like this, where there was a peaceful demonstration inside. These protesters, they are not trashing anything. All they were doing was standing here. They're being pushed on. And then all of a sudden, these riot police charged. Spraying pepper spray. We are inside a train station. We are inside a train station. And I want the world to see what is going on here in Yuen Long. This is absolute craziness. There they are with their batons, with their pepper spray, firing tear gas. The aggression is out of control. These are not protesters hurling bricks. These are protesters just standing here. That's a helmet. That is an umbrella. There are a lot of media here, but there are still about 100 or so hardcore protesters who are refusing to go home.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. But as you can see, Linda, the police are retreating. Such a bad call by the Hong Kong police. There are dozens and dozens of media streaming this live. You know, if they thought the Hong Kong police were out of favour with the people, this has just taken it to the next level. But there is pepper spray in the air. So we are just bear with us. But you can see there are protesters here struggling.
So at the moment, just to bring our viewers who are joining us up to date, this protest on the streets of Hong Kong that is now in the train station has been going on for hours. Since about 3 p.m. local time, it's now 10 p.m. Hong Kong time. You can see there now, as Anna was just describing, the riot police spraying pepper spray in the train station at protesters there.
Hey Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.